In this video, we are going to talk about what we mean by cost savings in cloud computing. An important change introduced by cloud computing is to think in terms of services rather than in the equipment needed to have those services. Cloud computing is about contracting services instead of contracting infrastructures for our computing needs. The first step that we have to do to compare the cost of cloud computing with our current cost is to calculate the total cost of ownership. To compute that total cost, we need to understand and to put together all our current cost elements required to provide the service that we need or want. Starting by the cost of the premises to house our resources, typically the data center, made up by the real estate, the building, its maintenance, the power, the cooling, the redundant services that we need to have these premises up and running 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. On top of the data center cost, we have the computing, storage, and security equipments that we need for our computing needs. The hardware, the software, the setup, the maintenance, the full-time operations, the oversight to absorb the peaks, the redundancy to ensure the continuity, and the multiple and different skills that we need to have to maintain this full stack. Each of these elements has a cost. We need to calculate it properly to be able to compute our total cost of computing versus the cost of cloud computing. If we are not properly putting all the costs together, we are not going to be able to say if cloud computing is cheaper or more expensive than our current model or any other alternative. We have just discussed about the total cost of ownership as the first element to compare the cost advantages of cloud computing versus other models. We are now going to add elasticity and scalability into the cost comparison. These two characteristics allow to have the services needed at every moment and to pay only for those resources used during the time they were used. There is no need to oversize our infrastructure to have the service that we need. We can grow as we need and we can pay as we grow. This cloud promise also contributes to reduce the need of capacity planning and the cost of sourcing processes, both in terms of time and efforts. Scalability and elasticity are two very important factors in terms of cost. Particularly the scalability allows us to add resources when needed, scale up, but also to release resources when no longer needed, scale down. In other words, scalability and elasticity allows to align our cost with the resources needed at every moment. Whenever our need is above our existing resources, we can get additional resources just by scaling up. But also, whenever our need is below our allocated or existing resources, we can release those unnecessary resources by scaling down. In both cases, only supporting the cost of the resources in use. This is a benefit that cloud computing is introducing, which is very difficult to be achieved with other comparable alternatives.